Welcome to MESD Grow Summit 2021, a two-day virtual professional learning event for cultivating best practices in teaching and learning. Grow Summit is presented and hosted by the Moriarty-Edgewood School District. While most of our Grow Summit attendees are faculty and staff here at MESD, it is a pleasure and an honor to warmly welcome attendees and presenters from around the state, around the country, and even around the world. MESD is a small to medium-sized district serving two rural communities in central New Mexico. And while we would have loved for this event to have been an in-person conference, we appreciate that this virtual venue has provided a rare opportunity for our community to connect with and learn with such a vast and diverse group of educators from near and far. We would like to thank each and every one of you for joining us. We know that giving up a couple of days of summer break after a particularly rough school year might not have been an easy choice to make, but we hope you will find your experience here at Grow Summit to be well worth your time. We believe that we have put together a program that will inspire professional growth and ultimately impact learners in transformative ways. Over the course of the next 2 days, you will hear from a panel of featured keynote speakers, including John Meehan, Mandy Torres, Alex Cacciatani, Nairi Clark, Dr. Joe Sanfilippo, and Michael Matera. These leaders in education will deliver inspiration that will challenge you to grow in ways you might not have even imagined just yet. In addition to their keynote presentations, each of these speakers will also facilitate breakout sessions. Grow Summit 2021 features nearly 80 different breakout sessions over 2 days, covering a wide range of topics and presented by more than 50 qualified presenters from the international community. This summit truly offers something for everyone, and since you have had the opportunity to build your own breakout schedule, selecting the sessions most relevant and interesting to you, this personalized PD is just for you. As we prepare to get started here this morning, there are just a few things we would like to share. First, a couple of important reminders. All Grow Summit sessions will be recorded. Videos of recorded sessions will be exclusively available to MESD staff and Grow Summit attendees. This is great news, right? We know that narrowing down just one breakout session to attend in each time slot was a difficult task because there are so many great ones to choose from. Having access to all of the recorded sessions later means that you will be able to view the ones you missed. The videos won't be available until mid to late August, so watch your inbox for details. We also want to remind you to mute your microphone and turn off your camera as you enter breakout sessions as a courtesy to presenters and other attendees. There are also some great ways to engage with Grow Summit. One great way to connect with other Summit attendees is on social media. Our Twitter handle is @GrowSummit, if you'd like to follow us. You can also use our hashtags to post to any social media platform you use. Please use hashtag GrowSummit21 and hashtag ReadyToGrow when you share. Another great way to engage with Grow Summit is to play our Summit game. Here We Grow is an interactive game, a playful way to engage with Grow Summit while earning digital badges and points as you go. Plus, with every badge you earn, you will be entered in drawings to win great prizes from our Grow Summit partners. If you haven't done it already, go to bit.ly/playherewegrow to get started. That website again is bit.ly/playherewegrow, and that is a case-sensitive URL with all lowercase letters. On that note, we would like to take this opportunity to thank our Grow Summit partners. Some of the technologies you can learn about at Grow Summit 2021 are digital tools used in MESD classrooms every day. Because these products are so instrumental to support teaching and learning, we really do consider the companies behind them to be our partners. Additionally, our Grow Summit partners have supported this event by providing swag and prizes for Summit attendees. So please join me in giving a special shout out to Aludo, Edpuzzle, Screencastify, Pear Deck, GoGuardian, Equatio, and Read and Write. You can learn more about these products by attending breakout sessions, reaching out to their representatives attending the summit, or visiting their websites. Now let's see what we have in store for today. In just a moment, John Meehan will kick off Grow Summit with our opening keynote. Then we will have 2 breakout sessions before reconvening for a midday spark by Mandy Torres. We will break for lunch at 12:30 today and pick up with 2 more breakout sessions beginning at 1 o'clock, followed by our closing keynote with Alex Cacciatani at 3:20. It's going to be a great day to grow, so let's get started. Oh, I'm so sorry. We got off to a start where I'm muted. That's the story of our lives. Let me start this again. Good morning, everyone. By the way, I'm Chris Armijo, the Ed Tech coordinator at Moriarty Edgewood School District, and I'm so glad that you're here. Let me tell you about our keynote speaker this morning. Very excited to welcome John Meehan. He is an English teacher and a school instructional coach at Bishop O'Connell High School in Arlington, Virginia. John's first book, Adrenaline Rush, offers a game-changing look at student engagement strategies inspired by theme parks, mud runs, and escape rooms. Last summer, Book Authority ranked his book among the top 20 titles on their list of the 100 best teaching books of all time. John has also recently authored a new book with fellow Grow Summit speaker and presenter Michael Matera. Their new book, called Fully Engaged, Playful Pedagogy for Real Results, is scheduled for release on Amazon August 1st. Another of John and Michael's collaboration projects successfully launched this past March. The pair co-founded EMC Squared Learning, an education consulting organization that offers playful, purpose-driven, and passionate professional development and resources for teachers. John began his teaching career in 2010 as a career switcher through the New Teacher Project, after spending 5 years working in social media and event marketing. He is a 2017 ASCD Emerging Leader and an alumnus of the 2016-2018 Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation Teacher Advisory Council. In 2016, he was named one of Arlington, Virginia's 40 Under 40 by the Leadership Center for Excellence. And in March of 2019, he created the Egg Dash Challenge, a classroom activity that became a viral video, ranking up 75,000 plus views in less than 1 month's time and spawning hundreds of classroom videos in 40 US states, 6 Canadian provinces, and 8 countries. He is a past presenter at educational conferences throughout the United States, including the annual conference for National Catholic Education Association, ASCD Empower, and the Play Like a Champion Today Character Education Through Sports Conference at the University of Notre Dame. He is an avid runner who's completed more than 36 marathons, half marathons, long distance road relays, mud runs, and obstacle course races. It is my pleasure to introduce you to Mr. John Meehan. Thank you so much for being here today, John. We're excited to have you.
Thank you so much, Chris. Hi, everybody. Good morning. I hope you can see my smiling face with my awesome summer beard. I'm doing the best I can to enjoy what I have left of summertime, because we'll be back in the classroom and then I'm clean shaven and I look like an adult. It's good to see everybody. Good morning. I hope you can hear me. If you can hear me in the chat, feel free to say hi and say where you're from. Would love to see what you're up to and maybe what you teach. Like I work in Arlington, Virginia, so it's a bit of a drive to New Mexico. But I would love to hear where you're hanging out and where you're teaching from too. What's your content area? What is the grade level that you're teaching with? Good morning, Chris. Good morning. I see Crystal. I see a whole bunch of people saying hello. Hi, good morning, everybody. Hi from Joji. Good morning. Hi. Thank you guys again for taking some time to hang out. As a classroom teacher myself, I hate it when people waste my time and waste my money, because I don't have a lot of either of those things. So that you gave a little bit of time and a little bit of your cash to hang out today at the Grow Summit. I want to say thanks to Chris and her team. I'm so excited to represent myself and represent the work I do with Michael. We'll talk about some of that stuff today. I see Jamie's here. Hi, Jamie. And Bobby's here. Kelly, good morning, everybody. Good morning. I see Nathan's here. Alamo Gordon, New Mexico math facilitators. Wow, I'm like scared. My math skills are in need of some serious TLC. Thank you guys for hanging out. Good morning from San Diego. Oh, Fabian's here. Good morning. Jennifer's here. Oh, from Hampton, Virginia. Not too far from where I'm at here in Arlington, Virginia. Maybe about a 2-hour drive by the Hampton Coliseum. One of my favorite concerts of all time was recorded there. It's good to see everybody. Wow, people coming from all over the place here in MESD. So exciting news from MESD. Chris mentioned that Michael and I wrote a book. That's true. It'll be released in about 2 weeks on Amazon. We're really excited. Chris, I don't want to spoil the surprise, but I think because she's been so gracious and helped out with that, she's actually ordered copies of the book for the MESD staff. So those who are in attendance, you don't even have to worry about buying a copy for yourself. She has graciously picked up a copy of Fully Engaged, Playful Pedagogy for Real Results, which I had the pleasure of co-authoring with Michael Matera over the course of the pandemic. While we did the pandemic stuff and we all learned how to make sourdough bread and sort of binge watched Tiger King and everything else, Michael and I also founded our consulting company, our joint venture, EMC2 Learning. It's all about engagement at the speed of life. If you haven't had a chance to hang out on EMC2, think of it like, easiest way to describe, I guess, like a Netflix for student engagement, or a big old box of Legos that you can use in your classroom with instructional things that could be adapted for any course or any content area. I say over and over again, we're not really teaching content, we're teaching kids. And figuring out what makes kids excited to learn, that's the joy of teaching. The best part of my job is I get to talk about what I love all day long. Hardest part about the job is I get to talk about it with people who don't love it nearly as much as I love it. So my goal in working with Michael is to create like instructional stems, like lessons, sort of sourdough starters, and to drop them into your classroom to add instant life, relevance, and energy in your classrooms. Whether you're teaching in person or hybrid virtual, I hope you can feel my energy through the screen. I'm from New Jersey. I'm animated. I talk really fast. I'm very excited. I think that our passion can be palpable when we don't have to be one-dimensional people just because we're behind a one-dimensional screen. So I want to say thank you for taking some time today. And for those who shared your exclamation marks, I see Morgan, I see Kelly with your exclamations, double exclamations. Will has 3 exclamation marks here. I appreciate it. I think that it comes through in our teaching. Students will never love it more than we love it. And I wanted to share some of my passion today. And I want to tap into some of that with the work that you're doing in your classrooms too. So thank you all from the bottom of my heart. I'm going to get into it. And if you have any questions afterwards, feel free to hit me up on the Twitter machine. I'm on Twitter at MEehanEDU. That's my handle right there. Or hit up Michael. You'll see Michael through the course of the presentation. He actually is going to do tomorrow's closing keynote. And he'll be doing some sessions as well. You can find that in your sched. His name is Michael Matera. His Twitter handle is at Mr. Matera. And finally, because we were so excited to do the work with Grow Summit, we have a special promo code that we're running on the EMC2 Learning platform, where if you entered the coupon code Ready to Grow, you can get a full year's use of the site for as much as you'd like. It's like a 24/7 gym, come in and binge is whatever you needed. And it's a 25% off coupon. So if you use that code Ready to Grow, if you like the cut of our jib, I'll repeat it at the end. Like I said, I hate when people turn things into commercials, but I just wanted to mention it for you. We're going to share a lot of ideas today, and as best as we can, as many resources as we have available. But We have hundreds and hundreds more. Like I said, 3 books between us. So we're super excited to get that stuff to you. And if you're interested, Ready to Grow is your case-sensitive coupon code to help change the world. Thank you guys in there in the chat. So let's get into it. I'm here to play with purpose. I'm here to change the game. I want to let you know a little bit about myself and how I got into teaching and why I think the work that we do really has the power to not just change the game, but truly to change the world. So let's get started. There's an old saying in Finland, which I love, and I wrote it in Adrenaline Rush. It's actually on the first page of Adrenaline Rush. There it is. I said, the things that you learn without joy, you will soon forget. I love that, or that you'll forget easily. I saw that quote in an article, I think it was in The Atlantic, about the joyful, illiterate kindergartners from Finland, how they love school so much. And they read at a slower pace than the American students read. And yet, what they find is they find themselves falling in love with learning. And when they fall in love with learning, they're more inclined to want to keep reading at a faster pace, at a longer, more sustained pace than any student anywhere else in the world. Yet they spend so much time being playful, being joyous. And I want to ask that question to us as we kind of start today. These are students in my English classroom. You can see some of the laughter and the joy in their faces. They're high school kids playing with blocks, playing with Legos, playing dress up. And I know that might sound really insulting, that I would take a 16 or 17-year-old and make them do kid stuff. But Fred Rogers famously said that play is the serious work of childhood. They're kids. And if they're not allowed to be kids in school, when, oh, when do we have the chance to let them be children? I love it in my classes when my students leave my classes and text their friends like, you got to come to third period. There's something awesome going on here. I love it even more when they come in and they say, hey, I saw on social media, someone was talking about what was going to happen in class today. Can we? I was like, all right, sit down. We got this. Let's go. That buzz, that excitement, that energy. I want to talk about my classroom here in the cafeteria. I want to talk about it at the lunchroom. I want to talk about it at the dinner table with their families. I want to go home and tell their brothers and sisters who come up and say, my brother had you 2 years ago. Are you still teaching English 10 or English 11? That energy is exciting, and it makes somebody feel that there's something going on, that it's a must-see event. I think it's a tagline for Peacock, can't not watch, right? There's something going on that you are just in love with. I want to go to their dorm rooms in college and say, man, I had this English teacher one time, and that class, I love learning, and I love getting excited about learning. And if I can get them that excited, if I can get them to move their eyebrows up, down, north, south, left, right, I really do think I can call on that mind and speak to the person behind those eyeballs and say, there's something going on in that head. I want to tap into it. I say over and over again, and it's a big challenge. It's sort of a hairy, audacious goal I set for myself at the start of the school year, but I'm going to throw it out to you right now. I tell my students that your favorite class is the class that you loved the most. And I can close my eyes and think about it, right? Your favorite class is that class that you loved the most. Oh man, it's Mr. Dwyer's 5th grade English class, or it's Mr. Lockhart's high school choir classes during and after school. Or it's when I was in college with Dr. Michael Mack. I just like in the presence of a genius. My favorite class is the one I like the most, without a doubt. But I say that my best class is the class where you learn the most. And that's not necessarily the same thing. Again, your favorite class is the one you like the most. Your best class is where you love the most. And I tell my students on the first day of class, I write it on my syllabus, and at the end of the year, we take a survey, and I ask that question. I say, if your favorite class is the one you like the most, your best class is the one where you learn the most. My goal is that for my class, for every student in my charge, my class will be both of those things for every single student, every single day. Fluff ain't enough. It's enough to say, we want you excited, but that's not what we're here to do. We're not edutainers. We are educators, right? We are life changers, world changers. And I want my students to come in excited, powerful, passionate, and say, there's something about this that's magical. It makes me want to be a better version of this school. We're not teaching content. We're teaching humans how to read, write, speak, present, how to think analytically, how to be their best selves. And if they're feeling joyous and excited about work that they're doing, they're that much more likely to want to do it that much more. So how do we do it? For me, I kind of want to go back to this origin stories of what led me into teaching in the first place. For me, it all started with my Aunt Judy. Here's her picture. She looks like my mom. I think we have some family resemblance in the nose. My Aunt Judy is a warrior. She is an awesome human being, and she is a real advocate for kids. She, way back in the day, as a student herself, struggled with dyslexia. And as a dyslexic student, I recognize there's a lot of me in her. I've had a hard time learning how to read. And you wouldn't know it by watching me read or write because I go a mile a minute, but I just learn differently. Different students learn in different ways on different days. My Aunt Judy said, when struggling with her own dyslexia, she says that she was convinced that the key to success is hope. I love that quote. There's a Henry Ford quote that says, whether you believe you can or believe you cannot, you are right. And I think that this is really empowering because I mentioned my Aunt Judy's a warrior, and she is. Way back in the 1980s, she's a single mom, and she decided to help students like herself learn how to read. Her own son was struggling with dyslexia. She says homework that would take her 30 or be assigned for 30 minutes for most students would take her about 4 hours of work left to do. But because she believed she could do it, because she had that hope, she would push herself forward. So in the late 70s, early 1980s, my Aunt Judy, inexplicably, as a female-owned business, decided to start a software company. She called it Mindplay. And it was dedicated to the work of teaching kids with disabilities how to read. That's it. Helping them believe in themselves, helping them believe that they can be a success, that they can be smarter, that there's not that learned helplessness or that taught helplessness. And it's very empowering. My Aunt Judy launched her company, and it was a big risk to be a female-owned business in the late 70s and the early 80s, to be in the tech space in the late 70s and early 80s, and to create an entire education company based in the art and science of using playful learning to make you excited about whatever. Like, that's very vanguard, very real. And I mentioned my Aunt Judy's a warrior. So she is, and this was an amazing thing that she did, in, like I said, 30, 40 years ago, right when I was born. But some years later, my Aunt Judy was diagnosed with breast cancer. That's why I have the color pink there in the background. And I read about an adrenaline rush. Like, how do you give back to someone who has given so much to so many? You know, words of affirmation kind of fall short. Flowers and candy don't really do the job. But I know I'm a runner, and I had never run a marathon before, but my family was all big fans of the Walt Disney Company. And I said, hey, there's a marathon in Disney. What do you think if we just ran a marathon together as a family? So I went down to Disney World and I ran a marathon. Why not? Again, the key to success is hope. You have all these people on the sidelines cheering for you, making you feel like you got this. Now go get this. The village believes in you. There's something about it that says, yeah, I didn't think it was possible. But Walt Disney says it's kind of fun to do the impossible. And I see my pink ribbon I wear on my hand as I ran my marathon for my Aunt Judy. This moment where it says step after step, move after move, mile after mile, I'm doing this for something bigger than myself. I believe I can do it. The key to success is hope. In fact, my whole family came down and we all ran a combination of races. There's the 5K, the 10K, the half marathon, the full marathon. And you can see a whole bunch of us, ages and sizes and shapes of different types of runners, all doing all this myriad races over the course of the weekend. Some of us even do multiple races in the same weekend. They call it the Goofy Challenge, to do a half and a full marathon in the same weekend. Or the Dopey Challenge, where you do a 5K, 10K, half and a full, about 50 miles over the course of 3-4 days. It's insane. And yet it's exactly the type of thing that makes you say, I'm so excited to do this. And you show the world that you are doing this because all the research says, if you believe you can, you're that much more likely to get there. And the proceeds from the races not just go to the Disney Corporation, but benefit the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society of the United States, which is a great way to make a personal affirmation that we believe in you. Because again, that key to success is hope. I mentioned my aunt as a warrior. Here she is, alive and in remission. We saw her right before the pandemic. She wears a hat now, but otherwise she is the same Aunt Judy she always was, a butt kicker through and through. She lives in Arizona, which is not too far from New Mexico. And I'm excited to share those stories of affirmation because I think that transcends boundaries and time. There's something about this that says, if you believe you can, you got this, now go get this. It makes you want to tackle the world, makes you want to change the game. And for me in my classroom, my Aunt Judy's inspiration was really one of the reasons why I got into teaching in the first place. In my class, I kind of harnessed that energy of Albert Einstein. Einstein himself is the inspiration behind the work that we do at EMC2 learning. Makes sense, right? The famous theorem about the relativity, engagement at the speed of light or speed of light. Einstein says, about his own genius, people always say he's a genius, but he says, I'm not that smart. I just stay with problems longer. And again, it really echoes for me that idea of the key to success is hope, right? You lean into it and you say, this is hard, but I'm going to keep doing it because I see that there is a reason. I see that there is a purpose. I see I got this and I'm getting a little bit closer every single day. Einstein famously failed high school mathematics, and yet we see him going on to be one of the most brilliant physicists of all time. There's something about this that is inspiring and makes us say, from the littlest changes, we can make big ripple effects in our classrooms and in our lives beyond that. Thinking about the idea of that Einstein quote, for me in my classroom, the idea of staying with problems longer, it all started for me with an egg. Chris mentioned it in the introduction, but I was leading a training much like this. Michael and I lead trainings at schools. In addition to being in our own classrooms, we lead trainings all over the world, all over the United States, and we come and do trainings. And I had one where I had a math worksheet, and I took it and cut it into strips. I took the numbered problems, cut them into strips. We all have worksheets in our classrooms. It happens. And I said, if these numbered problems are all cut into strips, each one is locked inside of a different plastic Easter egg. I then locked all those eggs in a big old box, and I told teachers, divide into teams. All right. When I say on your mark, get set, go, send one representative up to come grab an egg and take it back to your desk group, open it. No texting and driving. Don't open it while you walk, right? Back to your desk group you go, and the goal is to answer it. Write that answer on the numbered sheet of paper. Oh, question 16 was X, or question 17 was Y, whatever the answer was. When you think you got it, lock it back up, head back up, grab a new egg, rinse and repeat again and again and again and again. Again, you got this. Now go get it. The key to success is hope, right? Stay with those problems longer. You think you got it? Talk to your teammates. Talk it through. Nice. 2 done, 3 done, 4 done. How many can you get done before the time runs out? And because ableism is uncool, I would not ever design a game where we all have to knock each other over. Each team is appointing a person who they feel is comfortable with moving and running on behalf of their team. And everyone has a chance to help their team out to get that endowed progress and say, we got this. We're going to get that much stronger. Just like a marathon where people are cheering for you on the sidelines. Nice work. So in my class, I did the exact activity. I did the same thing in a training, and I posted a video of it online. I started to see that other people really took to this idea of this egg dash. And over the course of a month's time, there were hundreds of inspiration videos that use the same hashtag egg dash challenge, inspired by the blog post I wrote to kind of explain what this pedagogy looked like. Let's talk about littles, middles, high schoolers, adult learners, because there's something infectious about this idea of exploring, finding success. Yes. Again, rinse, repeat, go, go, go. You got this. Now go get this. Let's get it again. Push, push, push. The joy, the energy, the color. I found copies of this thing spreading across continents. I saw energy about this spreading across peoples of all different races, colors, backgrounds, and 75,000 hits on this video in a single month's time. 40 US states are doing egg dash challenges, 6 provinces through Canada, and 8 countries through the world. In a month's time. There's something about this that transcends those borders. And because the game has so much flexibility, you can use this for a numbered worksheet about math, science, English, history, world languages. It doesn't really matter. Likewise, because you don't just want to make it a speed race, maybe certain questions were worth more points. And at the end, you reveal, oh, question 22, that was a 10-point question. Ooh, look at this. Those varieties, the game invites you to keep playing and level up your play as you go. Because just like the marathon, you're not really racing against anyone else. You're racing against your personal best. How did I do today? How does that compare to what I did yesterday and what I want to do tomorrow? Pushing ourselves to be better is so important in our classrooms. So I wanted to steal some information from, of all places, a NASA scientist. That makes sense to steal. And give us a pop quiz to get us ready for the learning that we have on tap through this entire Grow Summit. We're being challenged to step ourselves up and be better versions of ourselves. Here's our pop quiz. Borrowed from a man named Mark Rober, who is an engineer for NASA, who now leads master classes and trains people up on how to think like an engineer. He says, I'm going to give you this test. On the right-hand side, you're going to see it says push button 3 for 5 seconds, then button 6 for 1 second, buttons 3 and 5 for 6 seconds, and on we go. He says, by the way, this isn't a 1-page test. This is a 80 or 90-page test. And you're not allowed to get to page 2 until you get every single question on page 1 100% correct. If you make so much as a single mistake, you have to go back to the start of that page and do every one of those questions in sequence again. Ask this question. How many people would be excited to take this test? How much would I have to pay you to take this test today? How much would you pay me to take this test today? Right. He said, well, what if we could trick our brains into doing a little bit more work by presenting it with a little bit of novelty, the exact same test, just presented with a slight twist. In this case, take this test and call it a game. Now, it's not a great game right now, but that curiosity can get someone to raise an eyebrow. Okay, let's see what this game's all about. Maybe we take this game and turn it on its head a little bit. So rather than doing a vertical presentation, we turn it horizontally. Now, this game is a horizontal game. All right, I don't know, but maybe we took a question and cut it into strips. It's just enough to get a few people to buy in. Maybe we need to add a little bit more playful element here. So we take those buttons and hide them behind a new configuration of their own. And when we take them, we'll give them a new coat of paint as well. Now we have a game that is a test that is exactly the same as that first question was. And you have to move through it in sequence, but rather than doing it as a series of verbal prompts, we'll do the same with visual prompts. It's the exact same test, just presented with a slight twist. Asking this question now, how much would I have to pay you to take this test or to play this game? Or more accurately, how much would you now pay me? Because that is the science behind how great games are designed. Tricking people into wanting to do more work because they're feeling micro successes on their way towards a far off goal. It makes them for years and years excited to try harder things. Video games are really, really hard, but there's something about that that makes us want to lean in and play even harder. Now, if you're not a gamer, you don't have to be, because video games are just the latest iteration of an age-old philosophy. This comes to me and comes to us from the research of a philosopher whose name is Josef Pieper. Josef Pieper is a Catholic theologian. My own faith tradition is Catholic. I went to the Catholic University here in Catholic University in Washington, D.C. Go Cardinals. You see my black and red colors there. But what Pieper says in his book, Leisure, the Basis of Culture, he was doing research on St. Thomas Aquinas way back in the day of like antiquity. And he says, Aquinas borrows in the Catholic version this age-old Socratic idea, this age-old idea of what the Greek schools were designed to do in the first place. And in his book, Leisure, the Basis of Culture, Pieper says the things that we get to do, we call leisure. The things we had to do, we call work. That work-a-day world kind of kills our soul. It grinds us down. But our culture is what we fight wars for. It's what we fight to defend. It's our way of life. We get out of bed because we wanted to do it. In fact, in Pieper's research, he puts out this quote, which I love. He says, leisure in the word Greek is the word schole in Latin, the word scala in English, the word school. Quite literally, the word we use to designate the place where we educate and teach kids is derived from a word that means leisure. Josef Pieper, I don't think ever played a video game in his life. And I know St. Thomas Aquinas did not play video games and Socrates did not play video games. He did not have an iPad, right? But there's something about this. This is age old. Going back to what would you do if no one forced you to do it? Because a game that is played without consent is not a game. It's drudgery. It's a punishment. It's work. How can we make our schools feel more playful? Because the Mario game tricks us into playing really, really hard for a game that's designed to kind of punish us and trip us up. Talk about this idea of playful learning in the game of school. I think we've all found ourselves maybe trapped inside of this, maybe unwittingly, but I think this is the game of school. Stop me if this is anything like your own experience. Here's the game of school. We assign homework on the first day of class. Kid does or does not do the homework. We realize if we don't grade it, they won't do it. Oh no. I have 10 nights of homework in a row and they won't do it. So I have to grade it. And it's worth, 10 points apiece for each of 10 nights. At the end of those 10 nights, they're going to get a big old test. And because I'm grading it, darn it, they're going to do that homework. Well, sure enough, this plays out more often than not. Kids go home and get that homework done. Then they come into the big test and they have 100 free points in the bucket because guess what? Those homeworks, they were done. Completion. Nice work, Billy. Nice work, Johnny. Nice work, Janie. But here's the secret. The average kid goes home in the 21st century, takes a picture, sends a text message, and says, hey, I'll do math if you do history. Can you just take a picture of what we did and then send me the answers? They've gamed the system. They've figured out a cheat code on how to break the game of what school is asking of them. So they get all those free points, 10 points each 10 nights in a row, but then they get to the big test and then they fail. They've learned like nothing. They get like a 60% on the test. We, because we don't do the math ourselves, say, well, you had 100 free points in the bucket and you got a 60-point test. I guess I'll average that out to like 80%. I don't know, Billy, you had really good homework. You just need to study harder. Hope you learned something. And on to the next unit we go. Maybe if the student brought in hand sanitizer, we give them 2 or 3 extra bonus points. And just like that, you get a false positive. Student gets a B, learns nothing, and moves to unit 2 because it's Monday and we have to do that. The game of school is broken, and students figured out how to beat that game and how to hack that game. So we, as an education system, have to figure out how to change that game. And to change that game, I think we can learn a lot from what good video games, good marathons, and good board games have done so well for so long. Games are hard. I mentioned that earlier, and I want to have a pop quiz here. And you can feel free to chime in inside of the chat. When they designed a video game, they want it to be hard. Not so hard that you'll grab your controller and throw it across the room and never play again. But not too easy where you walk up and it says, push here to win, and everyone wins. If everyone wins, then there's no point in playing that game. If the marathon were only a mile long, then more than 0.5% of all people would complete a marathon, right? There has to be some challenge, some risk, some reward in there. So I want to ask that question. When they design video games with an old school difficulty means some of you will fail. This will be hard. Again, video games were designed to steal our quarters, right? But there is success if you just work hard enough. Let's talk about that failure rate. If you could guess, between a 0% failure rate, which is first time you play it, everyone's going to pass, and a 100% failure rate, which is first time you play it, you are guaranteed to die, no questions asked. Between a 0% and a 100% failure rate, what do we think that designed failure rate with an old school difficulty might be? Feel free to fire it off in the chat. I'll take a sip of water, get ready for the next leg of this race. Again, they want us to fail, but not too many times, right? What percentage of this failure is built in with that old school difficulty? 0% being everyone's going to pass. 100% is everybody's going to die. Ooh, look at these grades here. People are coming in. Helena, I love that you said 90%. I think that's great, right? Like, if you're a teacher, you're like, good news, Mr. Principal. I made a test and 9 out of 10 kids failed. He's like, are you sure you want us to keep working in the teaching thing? Like, there's an opening at Starbucks, right? But I'm right there with you. Maybe I'm a glutton for punishment. I want to make it that hard, right? There's something about that that's inspiring. If I made a 2% failure rate, the kids would be like, this is insulting to my intelligence. They wouldn't work nearly as hard. Actual retail price without going over for the intended rate of failure of game design, 80%. When they build old school video games with an old school difficulty, they want us to fail 4 out of 5 times. So how is it that the average kid can play Fortnite or League of Legends or Mario Kart and die 4 out of 5 times? Yet they get a single question wrong in math class and they're like, oh, I'm not a math person. This isn't for me. How is our system so broken that students who are so resilient outside of school cannot feel that same sense of ownership and autonomy and purpose in our classrooms? So my thought, and it was never a good PD without a good acronym, so here's our acronym for the day, is that games make it safe to fail. And this SAFE keeps them coming back for more. In this case, SAFE stands for specific, actionable feedback, which is delivered right there expediently. They don't take the test in the game, then 3 weeks later find out that they died in the game. The feedback loop is very, very fast. You play the piano, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti. If you miss one of those notes, it'll tell you right to your ear, that doesn't sound right. And you have a chance to play and play and play again. You run Mario from left to right. He falls down a pit. It says, oops, you died. Want to play again? Left to right. Ooh, I jumped this time. And you learn. Faster we go. How can our classrooms be faster with our feedback? Because that's what good games are doing. Not once every 2 or 3 weeks, we have a mega test, and then we realize, uh-oh, they've gamed their way, they cheated to get to this test, and we've learned nothing through that process. How can we give more hope at every stage? Just like that marathon where someone's cheering for you and says, you can grow, you got this, I believe in you, you are so, so close. And we replace the need for micromanagement with micro-credentialing, where we're saying, there's something that you're doing that's so awesome. Congratulations. Here's a little thing. Now go a little harder, push a little further, push, push, push. The secret, the science behind it, actually lives in this rather complicated image I'm going to show you here. It comes from the realm of what they call positive psychology. It's based on the work of a Hungarian-American researcher. His name is Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. I will quiz you on the spelling of his name later. But in this graph here, he says, as the challenge level is really, really low, we reply with apathy or boredom, especially for overqualified. 2% failure rate, don't care. This is a baby game. Don't want to play. Not a lot of adults sit down without kids and say, you know what I want to do tonight? Play Candyland. That's great. Meanwhile, if the game is too hard, people respond with worry or anxiety, and that's bad. If you feel you walked into a test and you are not at all prepared for it, that's where you clam up, that's where you freeze up, that's where your fight or flight kicks in, your hackles kick up, and you put your head down on the desk because you don't feel that you are qualified to do it. But what the best games do, says Csikszentmihalyi, is tap into this elusive flow state. You see, I circled it here in the top right-hand corner. In positive psychology, that flow state says the game is simultaneously getting just a little bit harder as you are getting a little bit better. It's that mental state of operation where we are locked in the zone, where it is so exciting, where we are fully immersed and fully engaged, and you lose track of time. You forget to eat, sleep, walk the dog, use the bathroom. You're like, Mom, one more level, one more man. It's the reason why we watch TV, and it says, are you still watching Schitt's Creek? And you're like, ew, David, yes, because you watch that much. You want to watch that much more, and you're that much more excited to see how this will play out. If our classrooms can do that, That endowed progress then says faster, go, go, go. Oh, you're so close, right there at that level. Push, 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 just like they were being cheered for in a race. For me and Michael, the work that we do leads us to this idea of the world of what they call gamification and game-based learning. And I want to talk about the slight differentiation between those two things, because that flow state can exist in both of these. I think there's great things about game-based learning. You probably have seen good things about it on the internet. And gamification, there is like an overlap in the things that those two things do, but there is a slight difference between that which we call game-based learning and the work that Michael and I do with EMC2 Learning about gamification. So I wanted to sort of spell it out now. And if you have questions afterwards, sure, we can hang out too and talk in the chat. Difference between game-based learning and gamification. You may have seen game-based learning in action with a lot of off-the-shelf products or a lot of like back-to-school type activities. When we do game-based learning, we take part in a game-like activity for the purpose of learning a concept or a skill or a strategy. Maybe like a scavenger hunt through the building. It's like a game. How many spaces can you find? Or icebreaker game, 2 truths and a lie, right? Or that thing where you're like, my name is Adam and I'm bringing apples. My name is Bobby and I'm bringing bananas. My name is Carl and I'm bringing, right? The game is, can you find letters of words that start with letters of your name and remember around the circle who everyone is? The Marshmallow Challenge is a great example at the start of the year of an awesome game-based learning. Teaches some team-based strategies. Jeopardy, it's a game. Through the playing of that game, we come to learn stuff. Unfortunately, very quickly, students realize once that game is over, that learning is over and we go right back to same old with school. Very rarely do we have a chance to sustain that. So many off-the-shelf companies have designed these game-based learning softwares, things like BlueKit, GimKit, Kahoot, quizzes, to make life and energy come back into our classrooms because the game itself is teaching that concept. You probably have seen some of these activities. The challenge, and I'm going to push gently without throwing too much dirt on anybody here, because I think there are good softwares in their own space. What happens, what I found in my own game-based learning experiences, is that students have fun with the game, but once the game is over, it goes right back on the shelf, and they tend not to remember a lot of the elements of what that game was trying to teach them. We've turned multiple choice Scantrons into multiple colors you can pick from in a Kahoot or a Quizzes or a GimKit. And unfortunately, students have figured out how to break that game too, Quizzes or Kahoot, when they realize they don't actually have to know the right answer, they just have to buzz in first, or recognize how that sentence started and give the same answers again and again and again. I don't really love that. Christine says, truth, preach, and the church says amen, right? I feel you. That's hard because I put a lot of time into building that Jeopardy game or that Kahoot game, maybe 40 minutes, 50 minutes, my whole prep. And then the average kid's like, I'm out. I don't care. I'm going to lose. So I'm just going to buzz in and ruin it for everybody else. And that sucks. So we have to do that thing as a teacher where you say, okay, Jeopardy in the class. I'm not going to call on anybody twice before I call on anybody once. So everybody has a chance to talk. And then students realize I'm mathematically eliminated. My team is already out of it. The double Jeopardies are gone. I don't care. The daily doubles are out. I'm going to sit here. And then it becomes just sort of like an exercise in the first 10 minutes were awesome. And then very quickly the bloom is off the rose. The novelty has worn off. So the work that we do together at EMC2, Michael and I really focus on this idea of what we call gamification. And gamification specifically here is the taking of applied elements from games and putting them into other non-game spaces to add engagement, interest, and excitement to the work we're doing outside of. It's figuring out what makes good games work, then taking the design elements of that and backwards designing those elements into our instruction. Things like open-ended exploration, scalable difficulty, friendly competition, a sense of imagination or wonder, a sense of there's something that's different about this game because I showed up to play this game. I can't wait to show up tomorrow to play the next level of this game. And that game then keeps unfolding over the course of several days or several lessons or several units or even an entire course of a classroom year. So in the remainder of today's presentation, I wanted to talk about gamification and how it works in our classes. And Michael and I broke it down into this idea of feeling like we are a player in the world of our own game of school. This image I found online was inspired by someone. I put their attribution there on the bottom. I think it's important that we always attribute wherever we can. The teacher's name is, I think her name is Kathy McCormick, and you see her Twitter handle on the bottom. But making our students feel like they're players in the game of school, you know, it would be great if a kid was participating. Class participation points, that's awesome. Unfortunately, in a traditional classroom, more often than not, when we ask for class participation, that game is very teacher-driven, super prescriptive. A lot of kids spent watching, very dependent on me to do all of the work. They become passive and helpless. So they have very low agency. We might call this the baby bird effect, where the teacher chews it up and spits it out. Students, like dutiful little buckets, have to catch everything and then give it right back to us. I would prefer that my students did not just participate, but they really played their game, that they were their own first-person shooter, and they walked around the game and made meaningful decisions to unlock new levels of discovery and play. If our schools are more learner-driven, then there's choice, there's doing, there's more independence, it's more active, it's more purposeful, and it gives a sense of empowerment and very, very high agency. So no longer is a student just participating in their learning. Instead, they own it. And the game is under their control at all times. That's what great games do, is it puts us in that driver's seat and says, okay, do you want to make a right or make a left? Do you want to go forward? Do you want to go backwards? Do you want to go faster? Do you want to go slower? Calibrate. Unlock new levels of play. Are you ready? Knock, knock. The world is waiting for you. Let's go. Like a marathon, right? That success is hope. You think you got it? All right, let's go get it. So we broke today's presentation down into 3 pieces. And I want to talk about great games offer play and purpose and passion. And I have the next half hour where I want us to have a chance to spend on each of these things. We'll spend about 10 to 15 minutes on each of these little tiers. I talk about play and purpose and passion. You see these icons here. I have a play, like a play button, purpose, like a compass, and a heart to represent our passion. So because all great games begin with consent, I'll ask all today if we want to play a game. And we'll have a chance to play the game here together, right in the chat. These icons mean something to me, right? Play, purpose, passion. And you'll see them come up a few different times as we move through the rest of the presentation. But I'm going to pick 3 icons that mean nothing, at least off the break. This first one here looks like we'll call it a tornado. Sure, let's go with that. The second one we'll say looks like maybe a magnet. And this third one here, oops, it's a turtle. All right, going to play a game. Very simple game. Use any one of these images, either a tornado or a magnet or a turtle in a shell. And if you could, in the chat, could you write something about teaching during the last 18 months and use either the tornado or the magnet or the turtle in the story that you've told? For example, man, a lot of my students had a hard time coming out of their shells in the past year. Haha, that one relates to the turtle. Go ahead in the chat. You can tie in either the tornado or the magnet or the tortoise and talk about something in the last 18 months that's related to your own teaching practice as we talk about play and purpose and passion. Any one of the 3 or anything related to those 3, right? Shells or turtles, magnets, attracting, hiding, tornadoes and spinning, messes and twisters. Anything related to teaching in the past 18 months that you think you can tie in one of those 3 different elements. I'll grab a sip of water and we'll prepare for the play, purpose, and passion that follows. Casey says the learning process seems so, she put the turtle emoji too, slow. Virtual learning was like a magnet. It really attracted some kids, but it really repelled others. Nice work, Kelly. Crystal says teaching the past 18 months has been just like a complete whirlwind, like a tornado. Jessica says it was like a tornado, back and forth, hybrid, digital in class. Helena, it's felt like a whirlwind. A lot of people said the whirlwind here. Christine, unpredictability of remote internet connectivity reminded me of growing up in Tornado Alley. Whew, amen to that. Leslie, I kept swirling back to unfinished projects like a tornado. Gregory says it's a tornado. It was a whirlwind of change. Teaching during COVID was a whirlwind. The winds shifted daily. It was a whirlwind of information that kept changing. My class tried to bring multiple students out of their shell, says Will. Fantastic. We had to be patient with movement like a turtle. We went slower. We were able to get more done. It was a twisted year. Everything went fast and furious like a tornado. As an ed tech coach, I attracted, like a magnet, new teachers to support. Once we came into the building, we saw so many students come out of their shell. Yeah, that's how the game is played. Nice work, game. If I took this game and I made it even a little harder, as people are saying 2 and 3, oh my gosh, this is looking great. We can make this game even harder. And I say, could you tell me the story of teaching during the pandemic? But this time use not just 1, but 2 these little cubes. Now, we don't have time today for that, but you can see very quickly, well, yeah. In fact, there's an unlimited runway. I could say, now you use 2. Cool. Could you use 3? Ooh, how much more complex and compound are your sentences getting by tying in each of these images, forcing you to think laterally and say, wow, that thing, that the turtle one was easy. I could do that. Well, then how did the magnet fit in? That one's a little harder. Then when you get the turtle and the magnet, you're like, okay, I'm ready to unlock that next level of play. It's like spinning and going slow and feeling attracted. That's cool. And it's scalable to any course and any content, any area, and basically any grade level too. So I want to talk about the idea about play and purpose and passion for the remainder of today's presentation. And I'm going to do that with, like I said, about 15 minutes in each of these areas, about 10, 15 minutes in each one. We'll start with play. Have you ever played Mario Kart? Mario Kart and Monopoly are effectively the same game. I know that might sound kind of crazy at first blush. If you've never played Mario Kart, don't worry. I'll be with you in 30 seconds. But if you're a Mario Kart player, you probably have your favorite player. You pick Mario, yeah, wahoo! Or you pick Wario or Waluigi, yeah, right? There's no functional difference between Mario and Wario and Luigi and Yoshi. And there's certainly no difference between yellow Yoshi and white Yoshi and pink Yoshi and blue Yoshi. But you'll be darned if someone takes your guy. I said I would come back to the Monopoly people. The Monopoly people here. If you have your favorite Monopoly piece, your brother takes the dog, you're really upset that he took the dog. Because great games give you meaningless choices early, just to give you a sense of ownership that it's not something bad that happens to you. It's your piece. It's your guy. It's your man. And because you have a sense of ownership, you have that much more buy-in in the classroom because there's something about what's going on that says, well, that's my little guy. And that meaningless choice was the first one. And now the game is slightly different because I chose to do X or I chose to do Y or I chose to do Z. Both of these games attract us to make meaningless choices early. And then as we've made meaningless choices, they give us a chance to make harder and harder choices as we go, moving those stones that much further away from one another. That's what good games do. So in our classrooms, how do we put more play into from the first days of class? Story cubes in my class are an awesome resource that I absolutely love. Right off the shelf, you can find them on Amazon.com. This is the exact same thing that we just did, where you just give people random images and you say, hey, can you tell the story of content area X? But you have to tie in every one of these cubes. I'll give you 10 minutes. On your mark, get set, go. It is so much more engaging than a traditional gotcha test. Hey, gang, we're reading The Great Gatsby. It's a high school class. You just read chapter 2. Tie in every one of these story cubes. How many can you tie in 8 minutes? How is the book that we read like the dice you see here? Now, the images are random, just like we saw in the last one. And there's a fish, or there's a tree, or there's a footprint. And they say, oh, well, the fish could be like, he did something fishy. Mr. Meehan, can I say that? I was like, oh, tell me why. Again, I don't care what they said. I want to know why they said it. Oh, it was like X because, oh, well, there was a footprint because you see he's sneaky and he's sneaking around. Oh, that's kind of cool. How are you going to tie in a cell phone to The Great Gatsby? Because there were no cell phones in the 1920s. Students get really scared. Like, well, I did the other 3. Hold on, I got this. Hold on, just give me a second. Mr. Meehan. Oh, I got it. Cell phones are like people who like contact people because they're trying to build like a social media profile. The Great Gatsby is like, he's trying to he's like catfishing people. He's putting together a social media profile. He's becoming a fake version of himself. They get so excited to explain things that I never would have thought of. They are amazing. And the beauty is they don't relate to anything in my class. There's a million different sets. There's Scooby-Doo, there's Star Wars, there's actions. Every one of these things are not related to The Great Gatsby or to The Scarlet Letter, to Huckleberry Finn. They're just random images. And I say, tell me the story of the Civil War and use these cubes. Or how are fractions, or how is a Punnett square like a parachute? And it forces students to think laterally. And I have no idea what they're going to say. Divide them into teams and just give them some time. And they are so excited to come up with creative ideas across the board. I absolutely, absolutely love it. Random emojis, random dice, story cubes are great. I did it online. Feel free to screenshot this one. This presentation will be available for a few weeks in the Sched platform. Michael and I made story dice for the pandemic. Hey, different times, different measures, right? We needed to engage in a different way. So we made a virtual story dice. We just grabbed a bunch of random icons from thenounproject.com and put them into a big old spread here. And it says, look, here's a slide. We're going to divide into teams. You guys are in breakout room 1, room 2, room 3, room 4. Use everything in column 1, 2, 3, and 4. And when we come back, tell me the story of whatever content we are learning. It does not matter what the icon is. It does not matter what the content is. The student is left to make those connections. And in that yoking, that spark, that is where it feels like a game. Oh, I got one. Let me try the second one. I'll try the third one. I'll try the fourth one. It is an awesome, awesome way to get students brainstorming and collaborating, talking to one another, and coming up with new connections that I would never have otherwise seen. Each student becomes a leader and a learner at the exact same time. And that's good for all of us. You can do this with Legos too, especially during the pandemic. I had a lot of students at home and I was like, all right, gang, we're gonna be playing with Legos because you have them at your house. If you don't have Legos, you have all sorts of blocks in your house. Moms and dads, I'm sure you probably stepped on a Lego or two over the past 18 months. I said, we're building scenes inspired by what we read. Here, take a picture of it and put it into a Google slide. This is an actual student picture. I have no idea what it is. There's C-3PO and Loki in there. I'm kind of disturbed. I think there's a Tusken Raider from the Indiana Jones or the Star Wars universe behind it there too. But then I asked students to make an annotation next to the picture to explain why they made what they made. This was a flashback from a scene in The Great Gatsby. And this is a 5-year flashback where Gatsby was looking through the window of time. The single event is what led him to throw all these parties and move to West Egg. They put a quote in from the book. It's a very high schooly thing with a page number. And they said it was just like a flower waiting to bloom. How cool is this? The metacognition that goes on where a student has to explain why they built what they built. Because when you're playing with Legos, you know you want the green piece, not the blue, not the red, no, it needs to be the green, it needs to be the green. You know what you're looking for and why you're looking for it. They have the chance to explain why they said what they said. And then you have a showcase of 3 and 4 and 5 different students making all sorts of cool things at the same time. It's engaging. It's inspiring. It feels game-like, but they're doing a ton of depth of knowledge, a ton of really heavy lifting in the Bloom's taxonomy. Talking about play, I want to extend that even a little further because we're not using content, right? We're using our content to teach people. The content that we have in our classrooms is sort of immaterial. The human being in front of us is who we are teaching for. And this is instantly scalable and imminently applicable to any course, any content area. My mom teaches kindergarten basic skills, and she says, John, the things you're doing in high school are the same things I'm doing in the, like the students who receive expanded services, special ed support. And I'm like, yeah, because individual humans are still individual humans. They're still kids. Their brains are forming. And ask them why they said what they said gives them a sense of autonomy and agency, purpose, and joy in the work that they're doing in our classrooms. Another example, playful learning. Here we are in the Scarlet Letter. My students were watching a lot of Stranger Things. So I made my whole unit feel like it was inspired by Stranger Things. I created up a stations activity that they could visit different areas and talk to different characters from the book. Again, the book did all of the work, the story of like visiting the woods and meeting the devil. Okay, I just put that into my classroom rather than me lecturing every day where every group is working through my lecture, taking notes. I said, we're going to turn our class into like a Montessori school with a rule book. And here's how the game played out. Hey guys, I have a total of 7 different stations you can visit. Each team, I'll divide you into like teams of 4 or 5 students, and you can do this virtually with some slight scaffolding, but I love doing it in person. I'm going to divide you into 4 or 5 different teams. There are 7 stations to visit. What station you want to visit today? Group 1 wants to build with Legos today. Awesome. That's all they're doing. Group 2 is playing with story cubes. You got it. Group 3 might be using some sketch notes, or Group 4 might be talking to me. Group 5 might be filling out like a graphic organizer. Group 6 might be doing something where they're just filling out some sort of Flipgrid, recording short messages about whatever they're learning. I don't care. There's annotation in 8 and 10 and 20 different forms that I could have done every day for every kid, but now there's a variety. And the way this quote game plays out is there are 7 stations to visit. They then go to that station in class and they begin the work at that station to recap what they read last night using whatever medium they have chosen, whether it's sketch notes or graphic organizers, Legos or story cubes, I don't care. Team against team against team, everyone's building, everyone's growing, but the rule of the game is that you can't ever go back to the same station more than once. Just like the egg dash challenge, you get a new egg every time, right? But in this case, that station you'll stay in for the entirety of the day's class. So if today you built with Legos, then tomorrow you're doing story cubes, or tomorrow you're doing sketch notes. And another group is cycling through things meanwhile. So every group is doing an apples to orange comparison at the end of every day. Because we're reading a new chapter every day, they're annotating different content in multiple modalities every single day. And at the end of the class, like I collect work product from team A, B, C, and D, with the goal of having the best work product of the day. And I have no idea what the best work product is going to look like, because in the traditional class, it's, well, how many points is this worth? How many things do I have to get done before I get it correct? It's like, I don't know, because team B is working under the cover of their group. And I don't know how much they did, gang. There's a variable in here where you're competing not against an arbitrary number on a piece of paper, write down the 10 most important things, but this unknown variable that any group might be working a little bit harder than you today with the goal of getting the gold medal. So here we go. Class starts off and I'm like, it was a really tough competition yesterday. I want to give a medal presentation because students love competition. We're going to give a gold, a silver, a bronze, and a lead medal to the teams that did really, really well, and maybe some who are slightly off the mark. It's like Drew Carey says in Whose Line Is It Anyway? Where the game is made up and the points don't matter. I don't know who is going to win. I don't know what the variable is going to look like, but I'm going to let students just turn stuff in. I'm comparing things that look totally dissimilar to one another, but the rising tide lifts all ships. So over the course of many days of the unit, students get that much stronger because they're trying to beat yesterday's best. And because they can't copy off of yesterday's best because it's off of a totally different section of the text, they're writing new information and you start to see the leveling up. Where it was a close call today, guys, but the winner had 30 things written down, and they put the name and date on everything. What? Name and date? That's the difference maker? Oh, we have a silver medal? Okay. Then tomorrow, every single student is going to put the date on something. And there's a whole collection of the greatest hits of what we saw from yesterday's and the days prior. And now students are digging in and leaning in and wanting to do more. And they're saying, oh, tomorrow, I'm going to read that much more because I have that much more to say. And I'm excited to do that much more work for it. And that over the course of 7 days, every student is making something awesome. And different students are working together. The only thing more powerful than content ownership is content authorship. They're helping each other become experts and writing themselves into the stories of whatever we are learning. And this is just a centers activity with a little bit of a game-like element over the top. Now, I talked about play. I want to talk about purpose and passion. As we talk about purpose, Michael says, and I love it, so I'm going to steal it and repeat it back here to us, that purpose is the thing that we do in our lives for other people. I firmly believe that the work I do is supposed to be in education, whether that's teaching adults or teaching students. I think I was put on this planet to do that thing. That's my purpose. But so often in school, students don't know the purpose of this assignment. And the only reason why they do the assignment is because it was worth like 5 points or whatever, I don't know, to get into college. I'm in 2nd grade. When was college even on my radar right now? It feels so far off. And so many great games, what they do is they give us little things to feel momentary micro progress, micro purpose. So we never lose sight of the fact that we are always moving forward. It just, there's different things to help us get there along the way. And that far off goal might be hours or weeks or months down the line. That's okay. There is a purpose to the work we're doing today. Talk about purpose. Research shows that this is something that we as adults find ourselves doing even though we know better. Research out of Wharton and USC worked together on what they call this endowed progress effect, helping people stay hungry. Here's a sample version of the endowed progress effect in action. They did it with, I think, car washes or sub loyalty cards, punch cards. You've probably seen them at your favorite sandwich shop. In this case, I have ones from Subville on the left with 10 holes available, and ones from Subtown on the right with 8 holes available. Doesn't have to think too hard. If the ingredients are about the same in 2 different sub shops, you would probably go to the one with fewer holes to punch. It just makes sense. So what they did is they said, well, let's see if we can trick people into wanting to work at the other place. In fact, if the ingredients are the same and the distance is the same, the cost is the same, what if we gave a loyalty card from Subville, but we gave those first 2 holes punched out automatically just for coming in? Beginner's luck bonus, like when you sign up for LinkedIn. They say, congratulations, your profile is 80% complete. Or a casino gives you $100 just for showing up in the front door. Effectively, Subville and Subtown both have 8 holes to complete. And yet, the completion rate is much, much higher. I want to ask that question. You can feel free to put it in the chat. Between Subville and Subtown, we now know that both of them have 8 holes to punch. One of them has a really high completion rate. And of course, it's going to be Subville, because you've tricked yourself into thinking you've already made 20% of the way in. You'd be a fool to squander the stuff that they gave you. Oh, man. How much higher is the completion rate at Subville over Subtown? Go ahead and fire it off in the chat. Your guess is here. From Subville to Subtown, 8 holes to punch at either one, but because you felt 20% closer, how much more likely were participants to complete Subville's card than Subtown's card? And a percentage. Go ahead and fill that out here inside of the chat. Here we go. I'm seeing a lot of things coming through here in the chat. Subville is getting the job done. The question is, how much more is the job getting done? Actual retail price in Subville with the exact same card, just with 2 punches given away. Actual retail price, I'll get into it here. Thank you guys for your guesses. Subville wins in a landslide, and you are 82% more likely to complete it just because they gave you those first 2 punches away for free. Well, that's cool. It gives you a sense of purpose. Look, I'm that much closer. These guys, I'd be a fool. Look at this. I got to go back. And that hooks students into want to play again. So I think you can do the exact same thing in your classrooms using the exact same methodology, that endowed progress, making you want to work that much harder with just 2 little punches of the exact same presentation. Again, like that Robert talk, right? That Mario example. It's just a twist on what is already good instruction. Fluff ain't enough. We have to get students to want to dig into the meat and potatoes of it. So how do we do that in our classrooms? The science here bears out. There's a researcher, her name is Sarah Lewis. She wrote a book called The Rise. I think she works out of Yale, and she cited a Cornell study in her book about creativity, the gift of failure, and the search for mastery. And what she talked about is Olympic athletes, and you don't have to read the words here. I'll kind of do the summary of it. But she says in her book that Olympic athletes, gold, silver, and bronze, with the rarest of exceptions, are usually neck and neck and neck for their talent levels. Like it's an inch or a flutter or a millisecond between first, second, and third place. But helping you see that there is a difference in the way that you are first or second or third by tapping into that exact same research we just saw in the endowed progress effect makes a world of difference. Our bronze medalists, when they make it to the platform, they're elated because they almost missed. I might never make it to the Olympics again. Hey, at least I have a medal. Silver, bronze, at least I have a bronze. USA. Gold medalists, of course, are triumphant. They're champions. But silver medalists, almost to the man, always look like our girl, Michaela Moroney. You might remember her from the 2012 Olympics. That sour-faced, that look. Look at her hiding that medal. Because her team got a clean sweep of all the golds, and they're the one silver. And it's like, womp, womp. Believe it or not, that face that kid has right there, I want most of my students in the class to have just about every day in class. And I know that sounds cruel, but video games are designed to punish you, right? 4 out of 5 times you were going to get knocked down. So you're going to say, darn it, I want to get back up and throw myself back at it. Because the research bears out that silver medalists go on to medal at a higher rate than gold or bronze medalists combined, because they spend the next 4 years haunted by that idea of, dang it, I was so close. Back to Einstein, right? It's not that I'm so smart. I just stay with problems longer. If I'm willing to just get back in the arena, one more go of it. You don't have to love Tom Brady, but drafted 199th overall, has played 20 years of pro football with a chip on his shoulder to say, I'm going to show them. And he spends every day being the first person in and the last person out, and makes the Super Bowl 10 times. That's insane, because he's committed to being better tomorrow than he was today. That consolation prize for the bronze says, I don't have to try anymore. Gold medal says, I'm either great or I'm lucky. Silver medalist says, dang it, I want another shot. I want my students to feel like that. Talking about purpose, Ashton Kutcher, of all people, has had a great quote at the ASCD conference 2 years ago. He says, when it comes to purpose, most schools are pretty abysmal at teaching kids their purpose, giving them anything to do other than say, do this for a grade. But once you unlock what your purpose is, for Ashton Kutcher, it was acting. He says, once you have a purpose in life, failure just becomes an inevitability on the way to fulfillment. Okay, I didn't book this gig. I'm going to book the next one. I'm going to get that thing. I'm going to work harder. I'm going to try. I'm going to learn. I'm going to study. I'm going to grow, because I'm going to do it. Just not yet. There's something about this that gives us a sense of purpose every day when we show up. We can do this in our assessments as well. When I have my students grade a traditional essay, and you can use this for any course, any content area. Feel free to screenshot it and steal it, use it in your classrooms. I talk about it in Adrenaline Rush. This is a traditional essay grade on the left-hand side, any assignment, right? Traditional rubric is on the left-hand side. You get a 3 out of 5, a 4 out of 5, a 5 out of 5, whatever it is. And you put all the categories down on the left-hand side. Then when you take this activity and pass it back to students, you say, look, the grade is right there on the left-hand side, but I'm not done grading it yet. Only 50% of the grade is actually in the book right now. The remaining 50% is up to you. You're going to tell me what your grade is on this assignment. What? How's that going to work? Well, the person who does the reflection on the learning is the person who's going to do the learning. So I'm going to ask you to do 3 things for me on the right-hand side. I'm going to ask you to chart some stuff. I'm going to answer some questions and tell me your projections about where you want to go. Okay. First step, take what I charted there on the left-hand side with those dots, and could you plot them on the radar plot over on the right-hand side? You show the students how to do that. Sure. So they can start to see, oh, well, I got a 4 out of 5 here, a 3 out of 5 here, a 2 out of 5 here. That abstract now becomes concrete. Okay, great. Then, number 2, I'm going to ask you some questions. And because I actually want you to answer the questions one at a time, I'm going to ask them one at a time. And you'll be graded on the quality of your answers. Because third thing is we're going to set goals for where we're going to go. I'll typically ask 3 questions. Question 1, which of these obstacles are you crushing right now? You're doing a great job with it. Brag about yourself. Go. Oh, that's cool. And they write, I did really good on this. This isn't Bart Simpson's, I will not throw spitballs at the wall. It's like, no, you're great. Talk about why you're great. What was so easy for you? You crushed it. Good. Endowed progress. Like the holes are punched. Good for you. Question 2, which of the obstacles are tripping you up right now? Oh, Mr. Meehan, I just don't understand how body paragraphs work. I'm having trouble with blah, 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 blah. Okay. Question 3, how can I help you? I am your coach. I am your teammate. I am your cheerleader. I'm your biggest fan on the sidelines. You got this. Now go get it. Tell me how I can get you there. Well, that's cool. I don't know what the answer is going to be. They're going to tell me. They're going to take all that stuff and write it down on the same sheet of paper. Just like you see those notches on the wall when you're growing up as a kid, right? Seeing that sign of growth or height. Then on the next assignment, 3 weeks later, when we do another essay, because it's English class, you're always going to do essays anyways, pass that exact same piece of paper back, but this time use a different color pen to write down the scores that they had. And again, 50% of the grade is what you scored from them. 50% is what they are setting for themselves. Whew. Well, now chart it again. Now we're talking about things like Carol Dweck and mindset. Students can see signs of their own growth and say, hey, I am getting better at this. I'm struggling with this, but no longer is it I got a 4 out of 5 because Mr. Meehan doesn't like me. It's, I struggle writing body paragraphs. And I can give this same thing to next year's teacher, talking about things like mastery transcripts or mastery grading, and say, Billy's great at X, he struggles with Y. These are the goals that Billy sets for Billy's self, and Billy wants to move forward for reasons A and B and C and so on. This is so powerful, and it's so easy to adapt to any course, any content area. And that endowed progress has every student feel like they have a puncher's chance to get back in the game as the game wraps up. Talking about seeing oneself in a game, I'd make this next point not to make a political statement, but to make a personal affirmation, seeing purpose. People say, well, you spend a lot of time playing games in class. That's a waste of time. It's fluff. I'm like, yeah, I disagree. I have students see themselves in the work that I'm doing. We're in a unit on Alexander Hamilton. So I said, pretend you were an action figure, or pretend you were a comic book hero in the world of our founding fathers, not throwing away your shot. Who would you be? Why? Create your own action figure, your own playing card, your own sort of comic book style character. And I picked some examples here of some students who can draw. That's easy. We gave them the template and then they just filled it out. But I want to show you this picture here from what this student drew on the right-hand side. We'll call this student Joe. Joe is a fantastic artist. And when he drew this, I was really impressed. He says he was not throwing away a shot in the world of Hamilton. He would be a showman. And in his bag, he'd have a MacBook and he'd fight for equal rights. And that's awesome and really, really good. And he would be an influencer on social. But I circled something he wrote on his hydro flask here. And I work in a very small local Catholic school in a conservative area in just outside of Washington, D.C., Northern Virginia. I noticed he posted on his hydro flask with some dope stickers, there was a rainbow flag. It was through the game that the student, Joe, felt comfortable identifying as LGBT+. And that is a really powerful thing because games don't care whether you're gay or straight, rich or poor, old or young. They want to see what you can do. How much more empowered is this student to find purpose in my classroom because I see who this student is for who this student is, and I can reach them. Would they feel comfortable disclosing that in a lecture? Probably not. In a conversation with other classmates when they did not disclose this to other adults? In fact, it was the game that encouraged the student to say, if it's okay to say this, I feel like it's a time that I feel comfortable saying this. And I was the first adult that this student felt comfortable sharing that information with. How much more can I reach that learner? Because it's fundamentally different when I know who that person is. I want to talk about play. I want to talk about purpose. And I want to close the conversation with a warm story and then a charge for passion going forward. Talking about purpose. In class, I'll do things like toys and games, badges, and like little things to celebrate students who've done really great work. As they're doing team-based activities, I printed out a bunch of stickers. And the stickers you see here are like those Avery colorful labels. The labels I printed out, I said, all right, students, every time we do something really, really good, we'll have like a medal ceremony. And maybe only give 1 or 2 badges every couple of days. But it's intermittent rewards, and you never know when you're going to get one. These are for like the head and shoulders above, over and beyond students who are just MVP quality performance. And because it's an English class over the course of the year, you're giving the same awards: writing, reading, presentation, teamwork, strategy, good note-taking, whatever it is. But you just do a small like medal ceremony to start a class. All right, guys, gold, silver, and bronze medal, but I have to single out the MVP player because even if you didn't win yesterday, oh man, you did so good. Congratulations to Bobby, to Janie, to Susie. Okay, fine. I gave one of these students a sticker like this. And I didn't think much of it. The stickers don't cost much, $12 for a whole set for the whole year. I didn't think anything of it until later that day, about 3 o'clock, when I got an email from a parent. And when a parent emails you at 3:05 p.m. and school ends at 3 o'clock, you know you probably did something either really right or really wrong. This is what the parent had to say to me. Mr. Meehan, I just wanted to thank you for lifting Elise up today. She wasn't having the best day. She was struggling. She texted and pleaded to come home early. I told her to gut it out and maybe we could do some retail therapy later this week. You, being the fantastic teacher that you are, gave her an award today that probably made her grow an inch taller. Really. She texted our family chat letting us know that the coolest thing happened today and explained it. She felt so proud. Thank you. That little girl works so hard. School does not come easily for her. She juggles dance, best buddies, tons of homework, and math confusion on the daily. She really needed that encouragement. Thank you. Keep doing what you're doing. P.S. Please teach seniors next year so she can have you again. For a sticker, because it was imbued with meaning for a sense of purpose for this kid in that classroom. And when that kid shows up for me, I show up for that kid and I say, hey, today was fundamentally different because you showed up today. Elise, nice work. that student will show up for me again and again and again. Our playful spirit leads us to a sense of purpose, and we can finish our conversation with a sense of passion that they can find in the work that we need them to do in our classes. So I want to talk about our passion, and I'm going to thank you guys for spending a few extra moments here. I got about 3 more minutes in the presentation. If you have questions, feel free to hit me up. My Twitter handle is right there at the bottom of my page. Passion is huge. Michael said that purpose is what we do for other people, but he believes, and I agree with him, that passion is what we do for ourselves. I am lucky in life. I get a chance to be on this planet to be an educator. That's my purpose. But my passion is I love figuring out innovative ways to make people excited to learn. That's a cool little overlap, right? Purpose and passion. Our playful spirit leads us to that sense of purpose. And now I find that passion, and it perpetuates like a perpetual motion machine. I want to work that much harder. I'm so excited to do this work. And that passion, I want to tap into my students as well, because I know that there's things that they care about. The hardest part is getting them to care about English class or math class or science class, religion class, history class, world languages class, especially during a pandemic when no one cared about anything. Oh my gosh, I just want to be on the couch and watch Netflix. I was like, well, hang on a second. If I listen to who my students are, if I have my finger on the pulse firmly and I give specific actionable feedback, and I believe that the key to success is hope. I think you guys got this. I've been listening to you. All right, fine. I care about what you care about. You're right. It is a binge-worthy time. We just want to sit around and eat nachos and get fat. Okay, so let's turn our English class into Netflix. And this was my plan at the end of my class year last year. Here's what it looked like. I made a template. I called it Edflix. This was a very complicated template, as you can see, a black background with a red text. Fully editable slide deck for all of my students to tell me the story of whatever their story was. Don't know what their story was. Don't know what they were going to say. But the editable template was there as a slideshow. I just shared it with every student. As I put it up for every student, I said, all right, here's what we got. First thing with this TV show is they're always going to ask you, who's watching? When you log in, again, very complicated template, right? 5 boxes. Who's audience member 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5? If I'm talking about teaching, I love teaching. My purpose is to talk about teaching. My passion is to get people to innovate and to change. I talk to teachers, to coaches, to admins, to tech coordinators, to kids. All right. If you were making an Edflix about anything you care about, horseback riding, I don't know, pole vaulting, professional wrestling, whatever your thing is, who would be the 5 target audience members? Because when you know your audience, you know what to say. You want to say it in a way that would land with them. Okay, fine. So students would take this deck and then edit it, right? I gave them this as a sample. I said, look, I wrote a book called Adrenaline Rush. I don't think it sucks. Here it is. If you buy one book about education, make it Michael's book. Michael's book is really quite good. But if you buy a second book about education, Adrenaline Rush is all right. And I put a few pictures up and a few little episode summaries here. The episode summaries and those pictures were cribbed right from the book. And I put it into a template. Those episode write-ups underneath it, that's just an annotation. And it just says, this is what chapter 1 was all about, or chapter 2, or chapter 3. Along the top, I said, if you care about theme parks, mud runs, or escape rooms, you're going to love this book. Okay, fine. And if you like my presentation here, you might also like on the bottom, and I put links to like Disney World and Disneyland, Tough Mudder, Spartan races, escape rooms, that sort of thing. I could just embed the hyperlinks. 2020 and 2021. Sorry, that was my that was awesome. This is my finisher's medal for my Spartan races while I'm bragging about it. It just literally fell down behind me. 2020 and 2021 is the year that we all got really good at making Google Slides. So, okay, here's my Google Slides. Guys, edit away. Make it your own. I'm going to post this out, and each of those things is a hyperlink to something else that I care about. Link to Spartan race. There it was, right? Crash right down. Go ahead and do it. Now, tell me something that you care about. Use the exact same template. Right-click to swap out a picture and swap in yours, and type in the text in a place where there's an endowed progress, because it already feels 80% complete. All you have to do is pop out my stuff and pop in yours. Now, students had a chance to tell me their stories. What did you care about? It's an English class, right? It's a writing unit. Okay, fine. Here's real examples of things that students started to create. This one's from a student of mine. Her name is Mira. She made herself a temporary vegan for the quarantine. When she was doing the lockdown thing, she decided she was not going to eat any meat products. And she started to film a series of short videos and make posts inside of her Netflix-style account, where she would tell the story of trying vegan recipes and learning about new vegan cooking strategies. Look at the joy on this kid's face, the excitement. Every one of those images actually links to a video which she posted up on YouTube or on Flipgrid. And every one of those images then is the story of the first part of the story. I watch the video and I get to see the rest of the story. She put for the people she might also like on the very, very bottom, oh man, here's the other YouTubers who I watch who influence the type of videos I like to make. She said those first videos took her hours to make a 3-minute video. But then she learned about how to edit and how to lean in on the new softwares and the things that make it feel more like her YouTubers. And she's like, this is a really hard job. It's actually really cool. I think I could do a faster version of it. And because I'm seeing that progress that she's making, always celebrating, oh, this is great. I noticed in link number 2, you put a video that has a little bit of music. Can you put some music in there for me for the next one? Oh yeah, that's a great idea. Oh man, I can put fun pictures, fun fonts, sure. But you don't have to talk about things that are related to your personal life. You can do things that are related to your content. I challenged a social studies class, because I work as the instructional coach through my building, to do the exact same assessment. And this is the type of work that students in the social studies class started to work on. I said in 2020, we learned that we're not dealing just with the pandemic that is COVID-19. We're dealing with the institutional racism that has been long unaddressed in this country, and what we can do to make sure that all people, regardless of the color of their skin or who they love, still have access to the same fundamental human rights. That is every bit as much of an epidemic as anything that related to the virus. So we divide them into teams, red team against blue team. You've been commissioned by Netflix. Tell the story of the 21st century. What would it be like today to learn about the Black Lives Matter movement, or the story of who we are in this time of social upheaval? Team A and Team B are working as rival production squads to write the story of this day. And they're doing what is effectively an annotated bibliography research project to lean in on things that are separating real news from fake news, and fact from fiction, and opinion from bias, and learning about the world around them, turning themselves into documenters or historians. And that's really exciting. Every one of those links on the bottom takes them to another link relevant to the source. And on the final page of the activity here, they have a chance to put together an other greatest hits, where they're putting in 3, 4, 5, 10, 12 other videos here that they feel are related to the topic. They can click to any of these items here. And if I click on that one, for example, it would take us right to the story of, this is the Atlanta mayor telling the story of what the Black Lives Matter movement looked like at the height of the social upheaval. Now students are starting to see themselves as not just students of the game, but as students who are changing the game. And in so doing, they don't just change the game, they actually change the world legitimately. And this is great for any course, any content area. Talk about play, talk about purpose, talk about passion. I want to close with this quote and then open myself up for questions. When we do the work that we do, whether we're growing in our little classes, our middle classes, our big classes, or our adult classes, when we do our work in our classrooms, Michael said this to me and it has resonated with me and has changed the way that I teach. Are we designing our instruction for something, or designing it for someone? Are you doing it so they can pass that test, so they can pass that standardized thing, get to the next grade level, get to college, for something, an arbitrary fixed date, or someone that says, hey, Fabian, because you showed up here today, Jamie, because you showed up, Will, I see you, I thank you. I think you're going to love this next thing. In fact, I put this next thing in here. Tune in tomorrow because there's something in here just for you. It means getting to know your students, getting to be more human with them, to be more vulnerable, to allow yourself playful, purposeful, passionate teaching that helps them feel that there is something fundamentally different because they've shown up. From the bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you for your time today. I apologize for the thing that crashed. We ran about 5 minutes over here. We have so much more to do throughout the entire summit. Michael and I are here. We'll be hanging out. I want to skip past this one because I don't have the time for it. We went a little long, and I want to honor your time here too. So I want to say thank you again for the work that you're doing. I'm in at 9:25 today for reverse escape rooms with QR break-in. I'm in at 10:35 to go the distance with virtual learning. Michael's hanging out at 1 o'clock today for the heist, and at 2:10 today for review games that go light years beyond Jeopardy. We have 3 books between us: Explore Like a Pirate, Adrenaline Rush, and Fully Engaged, hitting bookstores very, very soon. If you're MESD, you get that one for free. All right. If you like the cut of our jib, if you like the stuff that we're doing here, like I said, that coupon code Ready to Grow will get you a full 25% off of the site, EMC2 Learning, where we literally have hundreds of more resources. For the bottom of my heart, I just want to say thank you. I know there's probably more that we need to talk about. I want to honor your time and do that. But I will throw to Chris right now. Say thank you for your patience, your flexibility in this virtual setup. And let's change the game together. Let's connect on Twitter and truly have a fantastic conference. I cannot wait to hang out with you again and again. Thank you all. I appreciate it.
John, thank you so much. I don't know how I'm supposed to talk when there's goosebumps over my whole body. This was wonderful, and we appreciate it so much. And lots more from both John and from Michael Matera over these 2 days. And just as people are getting ready to move to their breakout sessions. Please remember that you do need to click on the yellow button that says video stream. And also, if you're waitlisted for a session, you need to let it go. You're not going to get in. I'm so sorry. We're not opening up more space. So remove yourself from that session so you'll be able to select something else while things are still open. And let's go. Go ahead and get started, and we'll see you back for Midday Spark with Mandy Torres. Thank you again, John. Great.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye, everyone.